passwords.
Probably not right now. Verifying. Oh, I probably need to hide this mess of the room that I have. Oh. Did I pick the wrong day? Yeah, I did.
Oh, that's an interesting thing. We're talking about suspicious court cases involving potentially defendants that are that don't exist.
Interesting. Well, let's start off the show first before we get into it. So welcome everyone to the Foolish Tech Show. It is a lovely Tuesday morning, and we are here mainly to provide you with support and answer any questions about our product and services. If you have any of those, you can always feel free to jump over to our IRC chat at foolishtechshow.com. We have a couple ways you can join there. Looks like we got Phoenix and USS Rover in the chat already, so welcome. And how's everybody else doing this morning?
Pretty well. I hope everyone out there is safe. We're experiencing some flooding in my area, and I know some others are having some difficulties from Matthew when it went through as well. So I hope everyone is doing okay. And if you're still without power and internet, my thoughts and prayers are out there for you for a quick recovery.
Glooming over in Joe Chamberlain's area, but good. That's good. So we got links starting off already with Phoenix here. Michael, what were you talking about? Court cases, whatnot?
Oh, you want to hear about that? Okay, so this was just real fresh here that I just saw, so bear with me. But Washington Post seems to be making a case that they're seeing a series. They've investigated 25 odd cases of court cases that are across the country that all have what they're saying are a quote unquote suspicious profile. What that profile is that that they all have similar legalese, suggesting that they may be coming from a common place, or there's some coordination amongst it, but they're all self-represented plaintiffs. And the defendants in all these cases agreed to injunctions being issued against them, which basically yields a very quick court order, usually. And at least in how they investigated the 25 cases, and 15 of those cases, there was a private investigator hired to locate the defendant, and they couldn't find them in 15 of those cases, meaning that they may not actually exist. Now, the article goes on to say that, well, why would you do this? Basically, how do you claim to get something against, what do you want to get out of suing a fake person? Well, it turns out apparently that Google and other search engines don't just take down content when somebody requests it. I don't know if you guys know how that process happens. I don't really actually claim to understand how that process happens, but they don't generally take that down. So that's good that they just don't use somebody complaining without merit to do it.
Well, at least their search engine, YouTube, they definitely do that.
Oh, well, okay. Well, this is their search results. So I guess their policy is different across the board there. So devil is in the details. But
Do you have a link to all this so we can interpret it?
oh yeah, sure.
Having to share interpretations.
Sure, there it is. So shady practices amongst, I don't know, shady practices with website de-indexing. Yeah, let's say that. Okay, so basically what they're saying is that the search engines won't just do it based upon the request. They need something else, but typically they will all act if they see a case involved in it, a court case in this, and clearly that seems to be what they're going for. Well, I say clearly, but you make your own judgment. It seems that that's the way that they're going to be used, that they're using this to get sites de-indexed and taken offline. So,
what kind of sites are they?
Okay, so like in the case like Yelp taking down, the case, like one of the cases, and I'm quoting here: Matthew Chen, a Georgia resident, posts a negative review of Mitchell Patel, a Georgia dentist, on Yelp and a few other sites. Reader, blah blah blah. There was a story posted about it. Several months after Chen put up his post, Yelp emails him saying it's about to take his comment down before it received a court order that it was issued, because it received a court order that was issued against him, and the court concluded that the comment was defamatory. But wait. He's never been sued, and sure enough, the order against the supposed Matthew Chen in Baltimore, as best he can tell, no such Matthew Chen exists in Baltimore, but David, and no Baltimorean is the author of the post. Yet the order is supposedly based on that Matthew Chen agreeing with Mitchell Patel that the review was defamatory and should be removed. And they, and they all, yeah. Okay, you state that they did not.
So just about like
none of them.
Things like that. And
well, yeah. So I mean, but the precedent, the thing is this: it can be anything. You want to take something down that you don't like that's up there. This is how you go about doing it. It's basically a step-by-step process, and any business person can do this. Any individual can do this. But people need to be aware of it, because the whole foundation of all this is a lie, and it can be bad. I mean, this was just a case of a post on Yelp, that particular one, but it can go quite a bit further. It can be entire sites or something that your business depends upon, possibly, for instance.
Interesting. Well, so they have to. So you would end up having to do the research to find out if what was there was true, right?
Well, so in other words, somebody could find, if you get a note that's like it's happened to us with YouTube and stuff like that. There were potentially we used content or something that they're saying is not. Now, I'm not saying that they were necessarily wrong in our cases, but the question would be, you would want to question that. Now, of course, this article is just about the search engines. It doesn't really have anything to do with YouTube. So I don't know if I can actually place the same comparison, but
very interesting.
Getting your site de-indexed is a big deal, and we need to be aware of the issues surrounding this.
So USS Rover is posting about some remote access tools that he found, and doesn't look like you had covered any of those, Michael. If you want to look more into them again and maybe update the remote software focus day we had. He mentions Aereo Admin, AnyDesk, and imPcRemote. And doesn't like Aereo Admin. 2 is the best of the 3, which AnyDesk, and we kind of looked. You posted a link about that one directly, and we researched it and found it, and that one is looks interesting. It's free for personal use, I think, and then they had commercial licensing for it that didn't seem priced that bad. They had a subscription and a for buy and forget payment option. So
Yeah, so their business plans were 180 or that's pounds, or that's euros, 180 euros a year,
yeah,
or 750 euros without forever, basically. That's not too bad, yeah, in comparison to the others, yeah.
yeah, and the imPcRemote is nice, but if you have to load administrative programs, you sometimes have to reload it. And AnyDesk sometimes apparently prevents programs from running, or prevents running programs in general. So interesting. I still think the Screen Connect and TeamViewer are probably still the two best out there. I know they cost a little bit more, but honestly, with remote assistance, you don't want to be messing around too much with your remote program versus the helping the client out. So just some things to keep in mind. But thanks for letting us know and some updates on that, River. Always interested to hear some new stuff on those things. And Phoenix has got a few links in here. Let's go ahead and re-review some of those. I did think this was interesting. Yahoo disables email auto forwarding. So all the people that are trying to leave Yahoo, they aren't able to forward their emails automatically, so they still have
their stance is that the feature was in beta and they're removing it, for because of that, or because
forwarding emails was in beta. Like that.
I know it sounds a little
That's
silly.
Since like emails came out, wasn't that in like email 1.0?
It was part of the standard, yes, but at any rate,
I think that was a more, well, we found out that our ad revenue dropped by 100% when we found out that we had been hacked with billions of users, and
I'm in complete agreement.
And take all of it. So,
but I'm in complete agreement. But I guess it's within their there's nothing illegal about what they did in that regard. It just seems really kind of crappy for
they're not making their name better.
They're not making their name better, exactly, and they should know full well on that bad press is what got them in this situation, and they should be scrambling for good press, not creating additional bad ones. So.
Speaking of good press, Johnny, do you want to tell Michael what good press you heard yesterday that he'll really appreciate?
No.
Thank you, Johnny, for protecting me.
No.
The Verizon thing?
Oh, that Verizon has offered unlimited data till today.
Yeah, I was looking into that. So the only way that would actually work is if they basically just didn't count the data during the days of Hurricane Matthew or whatever days they wanted to do.
Until the 11th.
Yeah, but so the way I read the information, and maybe I misinterpreted it, but the way I read it was that they weren't going to charge you for overages during that time period. But what they didn't go on to say is what they charge you for overages afterwards. So everybody's going to run out and be like, oh, we don't have to pay for this. So they're going to use all their data plan. They're going to go over, and they're not going to be charged, which is all well and good. But then come the 13th or whenever it comes back. Oh, today, whenever it comes back online, all those people are going to be over, and the minute they use a single bit of data on their phone, they're going to be charged. So in reality, it sounds like after I'm looking into it, it sounds like a scam, frankly.
Yeah, almost a scam, yeah, if that is the case.
Because, well, the only way I corroborated was I looked at data usage, and it was tracking the data usage during the periods where they were supposed to be free. If they're still tracking the data usage, then the bills are going to come out,
Yeah, because like you were saying, your parents, all three of you, each individually streamed the debate live,
from
3 different phones. So you all used up all of your data, and then now you still have to track your data, because even though you weren't going to be charged overages during that time, anytime from now on until your bill cycles,
Hmm.
you're going to be charged overages. So unless people have their bill cycling today or tomorrow, they may be looking at overages.
Yeah. So I would now again, I don't have absolute confirmation of this, and it's possible that if we raise a bit of hubbub, who knows? Maybe Verizon will reconsider that or realize the error in their ways with that. But keep an eye on it, though, and if anyone's out there listening to this that is depending upon that for their budgeting or anything else, please get confirmation from a representative and
I was going to say, maybe you can call up
in writing.
Verizon this evening and be like, hey, I saw this unlimited thing. Does that mean all the data I used hasn't been counted against me and I'm free to use my regular data plan? Or
Yeah, but I just wouldn't take a rep's note. I mean, get it certified or get it,
an authorized letter.
notarized or whatever. Yeah, do something, because I don't trust these companies, and not Verizon nor any of the other ones have given me any reason to believe them when it comes to doing a good deed just for the sake of doing a good deed.
Very true. I thought it would have been a good deed, but now that you put it in that light, it does sound like it's not.
Well, there's questions at least, and they didn't clarify during the announcement very clearly, and so yeah, be wary.
Interesting. Well, Phoenix also put another one up here, and I'm going to take out the clickbait half of it. But apparently, hackers are spreading malware through fake encryption software. And adding that. So, yeah, don't download bad encryption software. Stick with some of the more reputable stuff and research what you're about to install and try to use. Some encryption software that's notable would be VeraCrypt or its previous TrueCrypt, which has some vulnerabilities. So I'd probably say stick with VeraCrypt and KeePass is using encryption, but I would definitely say at least stick to
I don't think anything's wrong with TrueCrypt, but anyway.
There's some vulnerabilities that VeraCrypt has fixed.
Yeah, I think I remember you pointing that out. I'll have to evaluate that.
I think Phoenix pointed that out.
Oh, well, thank you, Phoenix. I haven't been following that very closely, and I know TrueCrypt isn't under development anymore. So, in that light, it's maybe VeraCrypt is a better solution. I just don't have any sort of trust basis with VeraCrypt, so I don't know. I guess people use it though.
Well, TrueCrypt did go through the open source community auditing.
That's what and VeraCrypt didn't.
They went through it and they were fine, but it was after that point that those two vulnerabilities that were supposedly fairly bad for it came out. So either way, I would still say stick with something under open active development instead of something that's not, and definitely stick with something open source.
Well, yeah, when it comes to all this talk about backdoors and keys and security and the NSA and all that other stuff, I would not trust a private institution to privately develop software that's supposed to protect me, and I have no idea how it works, how it functions, or if there's any vulnerabilities. That's inexcusable. It's not right.
So he's got another link here that there's a prize of $50,000 for finding non-traditional ways to detect vulnerable IoT devices, and this is kind of following off the back of the Krebs security site getting DDoS'd. Basically, that was using purely IoT devices, and actually, from what I understood, flaws in how ISPs were handling things and basically allowing these things to be found and be exploited in the way they were. So, especially with that source code for that attack having been released, it's definitely something we need to stay on the rise about. And honestly, a lot of these Internet of Things devices are just trying to make it to the market, and wow you with a wow factor, so they're not considering your security or post security of any sort, even ones that are quote unquote security devices. So
Yeah, the ones that were used specifically right in that attack were security cameras.
security cameras and routers, from what I
And
understand.
routers. Okay, but again, these are devices that are typically sold to protect networks and to protect you in the in the event of a break-in or something like that, I guess, or theft or robbery or whatever. And the companies behind them again aren't really putting that security as a design, an initial design concept for their IoT devices. This is I hope Disney makes this IoT. Um, let's see. It's not. It's just a hopping robot, but it's kind of cute. It's a like a one-legged hopping robot, I guess.
We've
And
already talked about that.
you did?
About it on Friday.
What? On Friday?
Yep.
You talked about the hopping robot on Friday.
It's been out for a while.
Sorry.
He also posted a link on GHacks about talking about the Windows 7 and 8 aren't going to have individual updates anymore. You can find that link back in the.
That's just the cumulative, right? That's the they're just all going to be.
Yeah, they're just doing cumulative updates now, which I feel is better. Maybe that will help in situations like the Future Tech crew was experiencing a particular update that had been half installed and they couldn't uninstall it, they couldn't reinstall it, and the update itself had actually been replaced by other updates, so it causes all kinds of massive confusion.
What about the downside, though? What about the ability to not be able to individually uninstall a particular patch? So what if I like all the patches, I like 9 out of the 10 patches, but the 10th one is something to make Microsoft spy on me more, and you don't want that. How do you you can no longer piecemeal it, and you can't pick and choose which ones.
I feel like that's a little bit better because of the fact that if you're trying to stop those things, there's better routes to do that than trying to prevent an update coming through.
Oh, FreeBSD 11 is out now. Now I can update, or hopefully there'll be updates to our gateway devices and router devices for that, because I believe both pfSense and OPNSense are based upon FreeBSD, correct?
Probably, but I would hope that they don't just take it on right after release. That's usually something that gets rolled out slowly. So full OS update is kind of a big thing, especially on those customized OSs like OPNSense and pfSense.
100% bug free out the gate.
Yeah. Some other links he had here. JavaScript malware shuts down your PC if you terminate its process. Oh, that's interesting. Definitely would have to take the offline attack to clean that up. He also posts this Fakenet program, which GHacks did a review of, and Nick actually mentioned quite early to us, way before GHacks got it. That looked interesting. Essentially, what it does is allows you to track what all the programs on your computer are trying to access or get to or do. So definitely check into that. I've been wanting to check a little bit more into that. Just haven't had the time yet. But it does look cool. LinkedIn accesses Gmail contacts via auto authorization. So that's not good if you're signing in with Google, I guess. And we already talked about the tech support scams using the fake mouse cursor, and kill them all will help in that regard. Oh, this is big news here. So this happened over the weekend and yesterday, but I was going to talk about it a little bit in links here, but thanks Phoenix for going ahead and posting it there. And here's the second one to it. Basically, Samsung Galaxy Note is dead in the water. Samsung itself, I believe, is even saying if you have a Note 7, power it down and do not use it and look into your options, because their replacement notes are exploding just as well. So Oculus released an update for Gear VR as well that disabled Gear VR on the Note 7. So if you're ignoring that, you're not going to be able to use the Gear VR for it. So yeah, it's pretty terrible. We got a bunch of other stuff here. We got the Fakenet thing already. So Michael, you watch 60 Minutes, don't you?
I mean, I've seen an episode or two. I don't watch it regularly. I don't have regular TV anymore, so.
I thought you were one of those old people since you're addicted to television. Michael last night goes, I'd really like to work a little bit more. I know I haven't been working all day since my internet's been down, but my TV's been off. So I really need to watch TV.
Dude, it's been days. I haven't watched a single show in days.
Out of all the people, though, I would have thought you would not have been one of those TV addicts.
I'm not a TV addict, but I do get a lot of my entertainment through movies and
you were like
visuals.
twitching on video to get your TV fixed.
Oh,
apparently Michael even went as far to like just turn his TVs on, even though he had no ability to use them. And would just sit there and look at a black box.
I tried streaming. I have a library of movies that I can stream when the internet's down or whatever. Not when the power's off, but I have a library of movies. But my because of some recent upgrade to the streaming OS I use, LibreLec, it doesn't. The sound's awful, and so I was just trying to, like, I couldn't get more than a few minutes into the movie, with the sound the way it was. But I was trying, and Brightly makes it sound so much more awful. But I just wanted a little bit of normal back into this weird Hurricane Matthew thing. And so,
what was weird to me though is that I have so many offline projects that I can't get to because I have access to all that, and I honestly wouldn't have an issue with the power going out because I'd be able to get to those offline projects and focus on them. Like setting up the solar panel I have, or setting up some of the electronic stuff that I have. I know those rely on power, but the electronic stuff I'm talking about is like building circuits and things like that, which don't require a lot of power. But like re-cleaning the house, making sure everything's sorted, and resorting things, and doing all kinds of stuff. Yeah, the honeydew.
Oh yeah, no. I mean, I put the time to use. I put the time to use. Don't get me wrong. We did engage in traditional or more traditional forms of entertainment. Jigsaw puzzle is almost complete, and we're actually still continuing with that, even though the power and the internet's back on now, which is kind of cool. There's that. I also engaged in a lot more reading than I've done in a long while.
Nick had said that he got through 18 pages of a book.
Yeah, Plex server. Thanks, Phoenix. That's been recommended to me for quite some time now. I've got it partially set up actually. I just need to take it all the way. But anyway, I wanted to multiplex my other box, my LibreLec box, with that. So, but anyway, I also did a lot of cleaning, a lot of work in the yard, cleaning up all the fallen branches and trees and stuff like that. So try to stay active, and that allowed me to not worry so much about those things that I didn't have access to at the time. So that is important.
You were definitely jonesing. It was like you had been taken away from heroin for 3 days. And yeah, River, I would not want to try 3 weeks with no power. That would definitely get me up and running on that solar panel project right quick. I have to have some access to power. I don't mind not having internet and not having TV. I haven't had TV in 4 years now, so not a big issue there. But I enjoy media. It's just not something I have to watch. It feels like I watch it when I am finished with other things. But Yeah, I would not want to do it in the middle of winter, especially. Although we have gas heat here, so it's not that bad. But yeah, that's I feel for you there. Anyway, what I was getting ready to talk about was 60 Minutes recently did a show where they interviewed Sophia robot, and
It claims to be sentient.
said it was a sentient and has a soul.
Okay, having the soul.
Robot made to look like a real person. So
I thought, though, the one of the statements I think it made towards the end was more scary than the whole soul thing, or or the sentience thing. I thought they said that they wanted it wanted to be smarter or better than humans, and also immortal. So it it seemed to have very human desires for being a mechanical beast.
yeah, if it wants to be immortal, that's when you know it has a soul. Because even robots aren't immortal. Just as a fun one-off one, I thought this was pretty funny. Some kids were filming a joyride with their GoPro, and their GoPro happened to catch the fact that they left a $1,000 camera on top of the car, and then watched it slide off the car immediately. So definitely check your stuff before you do stuff like that. And Zombie Worm isn't here, but hopefully he checks out our show offline times, because there is a option to use a Raspberry Pi as a hub for all your connected devices. Pi IoT. I didn't look a lot into it, but it may be it looks like it was based off of something that was a contest, and they came out with this option. So I thought it was cool because that's one of my biggest fears about trying to get into the smart home stuff, is being locked into it. And I know Nick has discussed some issues.
Locked into your smart home. That sounds like a scary movie gone bad. There was a movie like that.
Man, there is probably the latest IT or something, IT worker. It had Peter Brosnan or whatever his name is. Terrible movie, absolutely horrible. I do not recommend watching it. As a complete waste of time, and usually I can find something good about any movie because I enjoy movies, but that one is absolutely horrible. I think it's like I.T. Let's see if I can find that. No, all I'm finding on search is Pierce Bronson. That's the guy, and it is I.T. Absolutely terrible movie. I can't even believe IMDb has it rated as 2.5 stars. But it's like
Demon Seed, yes. Demon Seed, 1977, great movie. I'm gonna post that.
This one though takes advantage of the smart home stuff, and like the IT worker ends up being upset with Pierce Brosnan's character and attacks him using his smart home, and takes advantage of all the smart devices. So interesting concept there, but still not worth watching the movie. I feel like that movie took all the great things that shows like Mr. Robot and *Halt and Catch Fire* have done for the IT industry and the media and movies genres, and just took it straight back to like 1940 hacker terribleness. It's a terrible movie. Don't watch it. In better news, though, it looks like they opened a time capsule and ended up finding some interesting stuff from the World War II era, like a World War II bomb that was placed in the time capsule. Pretty interesting. For time capsules, you don't usually come across interesting things like that.
See, I didn't miss much.
No, not much. Was your internet down? Because
No.
there were reports from your area that internet and power was going to be down for a while.
No. I was just
I think it was internet,
concentrating.
phone, not so much power.
What? Anyway, I was concentrating.
So otherwise, it looks like I have some news about some new ransomware. They're doing a legal notice before you log in, DXXD ransomware. It's targeting servers and encrypting files. And there is a decryptor out there, but the developer already modified it so that it doesn't work against that.
Oh.
And see if there's any more notes on it that would be interesting. Looks like it adds a DXXD to the file extension. And yeah, just some interesting stuff. Bleeping Computer has a good review on it, as always.
I just want to point out the decryptor and a link is, if you have, is never worthless just because someone may already have the infection before the decryptor, before the.
Yeah, the version they have might be the older version still.
Yeah. But yeah, by the way, we've been cataloging the decryptors for the ransomware. If anybody's having trouble out there, let us know. We'll be happy to shoot you a link to a decryptor if we're aware of one.
Yeah, definitely. And ID ransomware, which is mentioned on that Bleeping Computer review, also has a lot of good ones there.
Mm-hmm.
USS Rovers posted a fun link, BOFH off.
What is
interesting? It kind of looks like a BuzzFeed spinoff, so I'm not sure if I have the time for it, but it's coming from the A Register, biting the hand that feeds IT. Interesting. We'll have to take a little bit more deeper look into that. Did y'all hear about the UK cabinet scare?
With the iPhone or the iWatch or the
iWatch, yeah. So the UK cabinet has banned the Apple iWatch because the British are worried about
the Note Tab 7 is still quite allowed, even though it will blow.
Yeah. I thought that was pretty funny. Just the iWatch. They didn't say anything about the Apple or the Android watch. So.
Well, because it's like the James Bond, spy talking into the phones and spying, They've been watching a little too many older movies.
So you were talking about Google de-indexing stuff, and it looks like they've been concentrating on other things, like being able to type in a hex color value and get the color shown to you. So when you search for a pound 6 numbers, letters,
oh yeah,
it'll give you the color that represents now.
Neat.
Yay. So, and maybe Chrome and Google have been listening to us and all the millions of other users that have complained about Chrome being a memory hog, because apparently their update coming in December is going to be less of a memory hog. Google says it's supposedly supposed to use 50% less RAM on average.
Okay, that sounds great, but that also means that their idea of memory uses previously was severely flawed and broken,
That's what the biggest issue I have is that why were they using 50% more memory than they needed to in the first place?
Yeah.
Like they started off as that was the entire reason they built their own browsers, because they
it's light,
streamlined, fast, and light. And where they went wrong with that, I think, is when they decided to make a whole OS out of it.
Good point. Yeah, some things just shouldn't be combined just because they're, in the news or popular amongst social media. And
So,
Firefox, they're right. All the browsers have largely fall victim to that type of thing. It's not just Chrome, but they're probably the most glaring example of it because dealing with it on a daily basis, you guys have to see this. You know what we're talking about, but
yeah, Firefox I found is not really as bad.
and Firefox is still 32-bit under default install, I believe, as well. So it's gonna use less memory just because of that. So
Yeah, that's true too. So speaking of things to do in the off time, O'Reilly is giving away free programming ebooks as well as some free ebooks about data security, web development, and the Internet of Things. O'Reilly's long been known for having good informational books and things like that.
I'm surprised. I get worried about these things because there's a lot of scams offering up extremely discounted ebooks and things like that are going around. I just always a little bit wary. This is I'm sure completely fine, and with a big publisher like that behind it, I'm sure everything's on the up and up. But just be careful out there. There's a lot of typically they're selling content that would otherwise be free, or they're misrepresenting its value. And I would warn you folks out there to just be wary if you see things like that. Now, free is free, obviously, and if you don't like the content, you don't have to do anything
but
with
it could be bundled with other things. So I definitely agree that your research and due diligence should be done there. Yeah, Rover, CC Cleaner is a fairly good app as long as you don't use the registry cleanup side of it. Otherwise, it does a pretty good job on the hard drive side. So I was super excited about this, but this is one of those kind of things that this was the age I grew up in, not the Pokemon age. So apparently they're coming out with a new Power Rangers movie, and it actually looks like a pretty decent movie, set up in style kind of wise, and a completely new take on how Power Rangers were done.
This a while back we had a little bit of a clip, or maybe I don't know if it was a fan made thing, but it was regarding Power Rangers, and it was
a fan made thing,
and it was much more modern. But it was a modern interpretation. Is this similar to that in any way, or?
Definitely. It's based on today's timeline, and they do take a much more modern approach about it, but it's kind of like they go about how the Power Rangers came to be, and it's, I believe, going off what was the first Power Rangers series. So watch the trailer. It's definitely a good 20 minutes of time worth it. It's an interesting trailer, and what I like about it is that the fact that it's well done, as it looks like it's going to be well done as a movie entirely, not just as a, hey, let's recapitalize on the Power Rangers movement kind of thing. So
I always thought the Power Rangers were pretty cheeseball and very unrealistic, and I really never liked them.
I've honestly, Parker, I'm with you. I never watched the show, and I never really realized how it was so popular. And I thought maybe it had something to do with my age. I thought maybe I wasn't. I just crossed over.
I think that's exactly what it was. Like when it came out, I was in 4th and 5th grade. So, y'all were probably in middle school already at the time, and that was kind of what happened with me and Pokemon. Like I found out my friend had a Pokemon collection, and I was like, you have Pokemon, man? That's so stupid. And then like everybody in the room stopped and looked at me and was like, excuse me? I was like, oh yeah, I'm the oldest one here, aren't I? And they were like, yeah, we all like Pokemon. I was like, yeah, okay, my bad. Y'all are okay. Yeah, it's one of those generation time-based things, and I thought it was really good, and it definitely doesn't seem like it has the cheesy action like the original show did, so maybe you might enjoy this movie more. But yeah, it's pretty good, and I liked it, and I think the movie's going to be interesting. We'll see next year, I suppose. So
Is the movie geared toward adults or to children?
it looks like it's more the teenager realm.
Okay.
So young adults, I would say. It looks like it's like one of the. It's like the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles style. Like it's darker, so it's not like the cartoon based, but it's still children appropriate kind of thing. So like I think that those kind of shows do better when they go for the darker aspect and end up coming on the lighter side. So I feel like it'll appeal to a much wider range. But yeah, the original show was targeted towards 5 to 8 year olds, so the cheesiness of those could be understandable, I feel. Yeah, WikiLeaks is dumping all kinds of stuff, like their integrity. They've been dumping for quite some time. The interesting emails that have come out from that, I'm not even going to link because I didn't even save the links because it was so dumb, is that apparently the Blink 182 lead singer was communicating with the Clintons' primary aid person or head of something or whatever about UFOs and conspiracy stuff, and it was just retarded. I can't. It's so dumb. So dumb. Like I believe
use the politically correct terms for the mentally challenged.
Oh yes, okay. If they said that, it's just terrible. I believe in aliens, and it made it feel like it was terrible. So feds have convinced police to use license plate scanners at gun shows. Did y'all hear about that?
No, I haven't heard of that.
So apparently, in a lot of places, federal agents have come in and persuaded officers to scan license plates to gather information about gun show customers. They were using that information in conjunction with immigration and customs enforcement agencies to determine if people were like coming into America, going to a gun show, purchasing a bunch of guns, and then leaving America, or just purchasing a bunch of guns and then leaving America. So it's I'm kind of half and half on that, but it's the fact that they're monitoring and surveilling people that have the right to be there without being monitored or surveilled that's the bad side of this. So it's kind of, I guess it's like the whole terrorism thing, give and take on some of those things. Oh, Phoenix just posted that apparently Amazon may be planning physical convenience stores for grocery goods. Interesting. I know their pantry has done pretty well, and I was wondering if they would ever have an option to do like your food service stuff, because you can't get certain things mailed to you. Like you couldn't get a gallon of milk mailed to you. You'd have to get a dehydrated milk or something like that. How about this? German lawmakers have voted to ban the internal combustion engine by 2030. So within the next 14 years or so, Germany is no longer going to have, or I would assume make, internal combustion engines.
It's a good example, possibly, but these things. I don't believe that Germany's impact, even if everyone in Germany was driving the most inefficient car, would make a huge impact on the global. I mean, every little bit helps, of course, but it's really China and other countries that are going through, their big economic growth phases.
Does China make a lot of cars?
No,
No,
but it's
but Germany does.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. I think that
Well-
Germany does have a bigger impact on this because they make a lot
I
of
think
cars.
China makes a ton of cars. I think they make a crap ton of cars. They make they make knockoff cars.
They do.
And they mostly sell them in China, but they don't.
Yeah, and so, you know, every little
Their
effort
own
that we make would probably be a smaller. Now, the thing is, just because German lawmakers are going to make the internal combustion engine illegal doesn't necessarily mean you can't produce an internal combustion engine there and ship it, and it also doesn't mean that you can't have your factory in another country that doesn't have that issue. So I don't really think that's going to change global
Well,
set of German.
my bigger thing on it
cars.
was like, so they created a law that's not supposed to be enacted for another 14 years. Do they not think that law might get overturned fairly easily, like even next month possibly?
I don't see it holding because there's just A, there's too many car manufacturers in Germany, and B, everybody has cars.
Yeah. I mean, I can understand the wanting to push towards the electronic stuff because honestly, that's what I feel is holding back the having electric cars right now is the fact that the prices of the materials is still so high because it's not commonly manufactured. I mean, we're seeing that effect right now with SSDs, and I've been saying that since the first Zoom tablet came out for Android. I was like, man, as they need to start making a bunch of these so that the flash memory starts to become cheaper.
There's also range of the car that they don't get very good range, that take forever to recharge.
Yeah, well, and that's the kind of tech that would be improved if more people were doing it and building them, kind of thing.
Like driving from your house to John's house would end up taking you like 3 days.
Well, actually, the rechargeable cars are getting about around the 300-mile marker now. So on a single charge, 300 miles, that's about a tank of gas. So the downside of that is the recharging, like you were saying. Having to wait 5-6 hours to charge is definitely not like filling up a tank of gas. So I can see the issues that it still has, but again, if more cars are out there, there's going to be more charging stations. So maybe you can spend 5 minutes charging while you're getting something to eat or going to the bathroom, and make it another 100 miles, and then do whatever from there, kind of thing. So like just keep topping up every time you would stop regularly or something. There's ways that could be done, but still. I thought this one was a pretty interesting article as well. Apparently, Muckrock went looking for the oldest computer still in use by the U.S. government, and they found out that it was, oh man, I messed up the link thing here. Nuclear codes are using the oldest hardware, and I believe it's the IRS that's using the oldest computers. So the oldest computers that are still in action are at the IRS, and the oldest hardware is running our nuclear defense system. So great job, America.
That's horrible. Although, you know, I wouldn't want our nuclear weapons to succumb to our modern software bugs and engineering flaws.
That older hardware is probably extremely reliable. I mean, do you really need advanced computers to launch those missiles?
No,
or are they connected to the internet? You know,
it's debatable whether or not that could improve them in some way. But yeah,
I feel like the downside of that though is the repairs.
Yeah, the cost of repairs go up as
if you have to manufacture brand new 8-inch floppy disk, like you're going to have to do it from scratch basically. So the cost of repairs of that is going to be outrageous because you're going to have to set up an entire system to manufacture that hardware specifically.
Interestingly enough, that there's
the other side though is the software. Like you're not going to have programmers out there that know how that software works, or if there is an issue or something needs to be integrated, that's not going to be able to be done.
That's how they maintain national security.
Is by making it so nobody.
no one remembers how to work with it.
And there are look, it's not hard to get old computer technology this day and age. Actually, I was quite surprised how many people seem to collect old what I would sometimes consider to be junk. But for someone who has an old piece of equipment looking to repair something, oftentimes it's possible to get the actual pieces. And as we've known with our coverage of the the new Nintendo retro boom and things like that, there's actually original sourced parts and stuff like that, and circuit boards and stuff, just still functional and workable. So the idea that you'd have to necessarily manufacture an 8-inch floppy disk from scratch is maybe debatable, but
well, no, like I think the 8-inch
adaptive
floppy disk is a good example of that. Like, how would you go about using an 8-inch floppy disk? Or
well, the data storage, just
like
because they're
an
using a computer that may have had a certain storage medium at a time, does not necessarily mean that that's the case. There are also ways to adapt more modern mechanisms to the older systems, although I doubt they probably took the time to do much of that.
Then you have to look at USB floppy drives. How well are those implemented?
No, but I'm not so sure that they need floppy disks for storage. I'm not so sure that this goes much beyond button pushing and things of that nature, and maybe some communications on some secure channels and things of that nature. But
well, look into that article, because they definitely said they used 8-inch floppy disks.
Yeah, it says the launch commands are still stored on 8-inch floppy disks. So, I mean, I'm not sure what that means. If we want to launch our missiles, do we have to?
Well, I mean, can't you just print that out?
Get the 8-inch floppy out of the locker and stick it in the drive and fire it up, or what?
Yeah.
But I mean, let's say that floppy doesn't work. Do they, how long before they can get the floppy that doesn't have a read error, reading sector 0 or whatever? I don't know. You're right. It sounds a little questionable, but I oftentimes they want to push a story that makes it seem like our government's computers are horribly, outdated and problematic. So there's maybe a little bit of push there to overemphasize some of the areas that they're seeing, like the 8-inch floppy disks. I really doubt that they're now, while they may have a backup of the codes on an 8-inch floppy disk, I'm not denying that. I don't know if it's used on a regular basis, though.
We'll see. So, Future Stack Quark posted something interesting that I didn't see about the electric car stuff, and was saying, if there's more charging stations, how are we going to supply the power for that? And does that mean burning more coal at plants or nuclear energy or things like that? And definitely I can see that probably not going to be able to supplement all of that power with just
actually
solar.
Depends on where you are. Wind and solar are doing incredible things for Texas as far as their energy production, and I'm not to say that that's the same in all the states, but I'm not so sure. I don't think it's going to be necessarily as big of a deal as it currently is, particularly if we do anything regarding our nuclear power plants. And
I still feel that falls back to the fact of if people are consuming more of that, the prices are going to be cheaper. It's going to be easier to deploy it. And yeah, if everyone's house in every city of the country has solar panels on top of it, I think we would be able to supply more than enough power to cover that, plus more. It's just right now, it's the whole fact of the cost is really outweighing it.
We could also, potentially work on getting power from one place to another better. It's if we could move around the power, if we could somehow load balance it across the nation, somehow that would make, I think, huge improvements on our ability, and would rein in any, consumption issues in local areas. But I don't think our grid is quite equipped for that. But,
so,
would be upgrades.
Also mentioned, yeah, out west in Iowa and the north and stuff, they definitely have a lot of wind farms, a lot of them set up. We went across country this past summer and we saw several of those. But Cork, in regards to Germany's case, is have the square footage, and even worse, like Britain and places like that. There are alternative areas for it. Like I said, if every single place had a solar panel on top of it, I feel like that would provide a significant amount.
The UK is doing wave power and a lot of water things on the shores and offshore.
Yeah, I was about to say the offshore wind farms, I think, would more than cover that kind of thing. Now, if you're getting into like a landlocked place that's like, I forget which South American country is landlocked there, but
Iowa's landlocked.
Yeah, Iowa is landlocked, but they have the space, so
yeah.
I feel like too that the technology grows as the consumption grows. So our SSD drives are way better off than my Motorola Zoom tablet that I was like, oh man, I wish they would really invest a lot more in this technology so that these prices would come down for all mediums. But as we've seen, SSDs not only come down in price, but they've gotten faster, smaller, and better. Like we have the M2s now that are far faster and far smaller. So I kind of feel like we're at the tipping point where we need to start consuming it more to be able to invest more and get more out of it. So, but we are at our hour time limit. We will leave you with one last link here. GHacks explains some of the new features coming in build 14.942 of Windows 10. Two of the things I wanted to point out here is they are changing the active hours, so now you can go up to 18 hours. So apparently you can work more than 12 hours a day, according to Microsoft now. They feel like you can work 18 hours. Still not the 23 hours I would go for on when I would allow Windows to update my computer. But the other side of that is apparently they're making changes to the service host. So the very common svc host.exe that everyone has been probably familiar with since Windows 2000. They're doing some changes to that, making some improvements, I suppose. I should say to that. But I do like how the Windows 10 one will actually show you what the service host is doing now. So you might also be impressed with how Kill 'em All will show you the command lines of what the service host is doing there as well. So check that out. Otherwise, we're going to get back.
At least until the update, we better read that article.
Yeah, that's true. At least until the Windows 10 update side of it. But otherwise, let's get back to our coding. We got an update that we're testing for Crypto Prevent. We had a slight regression with Kill 'em All in the latest released on Friday, and we have some other things that we've improved upon in that. So we're going to get some testing out and hopefully have a build out today or early tomorrow for that. And otherwise, thanks everyone for watching. We'll be back tomorrow at 2 p.m. and hope you have a great rest of your week otherwise. Take us on out.
Thanks for joining us, guys.